Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. We are breaking with convention, war, peace, and the presidency. I'm Amy Goodman. The Democratic National Convention opened in the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia Monday amidst an ongoing scandal over the released DNC emails and public divisions between supporters of Clinton and Sanders. On Monday morning, protesters booed and heckled DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz at a Florida delegation breakfast, yelling, "Shame, shame," and carrying signs reading emails. Wasserman Schultz has resigned in the wake of WikiLeaks' release of 20,000 emails which show the DNC worked to discredit and defeat Bernie Sanders. The FBI has launched an investigation into whether Russian spy services were behind the hack. Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake took over Wasserman Schultz's role of gaveling in the opening of the convention Monday afternoon. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders delegates booed Sanders himself at a delegate meeting Monday afternoon when he called for supporting Hillary Clinton.
We have got to defeat Donald Trump. And we have got to elect Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine.
Among those who tried to quell the Bernie or bust movement Monday was comedian Sarah Silverman, who appeared on stage at the DNC alongside Al Franken. As the crowd shouted "Bernie, Bernie," Silverman tried to shift the chant to unity. She then chastised Sanders' supporters. Finally, following primetime convention speeches by First Lady Michelle Obama and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Sanders took the stage and again endorsed Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton will make an outstanding president, and I am proud to stand with her tonight. Thank you all very much.
But on the convention floor, disunity was on full display. Sanders supporters sported shirts reading, "Hill No." Others taped their mouths shut with the word "silenced" written in marker on the duct tape. This is Oregon delegate Sandra DeFarzadeh.
I cover my mouth with a silence sign on it. And the reason why I said that is because superdelegates didn't represent the voice of the people. They were supposed to represent the voice of the middle class, the voice of the 99%, and they failed. They didn't do that.
We'll host a debate on the choice for Sanders supporters with Green Party presidential candidate Dr. Jill Stein and the former NAACP president and Sanders surrogate who's announced his support for Hillary Clinton, Ben Jealous, later in the broadcast. Outside the convention center, protests continued for a second day. At least 50 people were briefly taken into custody by police during a mass sit-in outside the convention center Monday. The demonstration, dubbed Democracy Spring, was protesting against the big influence of money and corporate lobbying in politics. At least one journalist was arrested attempting to cover the protests. Police arrested Telesur journalist Abby Martin as she tried to access the blocked-off area. She says she was following the police instructions when an officer grabbed her, tore her dress, and handcuffed her. She was released hours later. Meanwhile, hundreds marched to demand a moratorium on deportations and the closure of the Burks Family Detention Center in Pennsylvania. This is one of the protesters.
What it means to be undocumented is the same crisis that people are facing here in the U.S. citizens that have felonies. Basically, you don't have any rights. You don't have any voice. You don't have political voice. You don't have the right to vote. The reality is that people that are coming to this country is not because they want to, live the American dream. It's because in many instances, people are fleeing poverty, people are fleeing violence, and then coming here and face more violence and face more trauma. It's insane. It's a cycle that never ends. So it doesn't make sense. It's immoral. And I think the right thing to do, because this is going to go down in history, is for them to dismantle this organization that is ICE and to stop all deportations and to end this crisis already.
In Japan, a knife-wielding man killed 19 people and wounded at least a dozen near Tokyo Tuesday. Japanese police say the attack took place in the city of Sagamihara, a facility for people with mental disabilities. The man appeared to have been a former employee of the facility, and the victims were all patients there. The suspected attacker turned himself in at a local police station and was charged with murder. Police have not yet offered a possible motive for the attack. In Germany, officials say a Syrian man who blew himself up outside a concert Sunday night had declared allegiance to ISIS. The 27-year-old man was killed and about a dozen people wounded in the blast. Police say they found bomb-making materials in the man's apartment, along with a video of the man pledging his support to the group. Police described the alleged bomber as having legal and psychiatric troubles. They said he'd arrived in Germany 2 years ago but had been denied asylum. In Britain, more than 10,000 people have signed a petition demanding the British Parliament hold Tony Blair to account for the country's participation in the 2003 Iraq War. British law requires the government issue a formal reply to the request. There have been renewed calls for Blair to face trial after the release of the Chilcot report earlier this month, which presented evidence Blair had misled Britain in making the case for war. In South Korea, protests against the deployment of a U.S. missile system continued for a 12th straight day. Residents of Songju, southeast of Seoul, have held daily demonstrations since their city was announced as the location for the missile base 2 weeks ago. The South Korean government says it needs the THAAD missile system to counter threats from North Korea. U.S. troops would be deployed along with the missiles. These are two of the protesters.
Deploy THAAD in South Korea will not only further worsen the relations between the Republic of Korea and the DPRK, but also negatively affect the situation in Northeast Asia and push South Korea to the brink of war. Therefore, we must oppose it.
If THAAD is deployed in Songju, there will be U.S. forces. I have heard about scandals involving U.S. troops in other countries. So as a mother with daughters, I am deeply worried and strongly oppose THAAD.
Russia has warned of irreparable consequences if the missiles are deployed. China has also said the missiles would threaten stability on the Korean peninsula. In Mississippi, a U.S. Navy sailor has been charged with the murder of 25-year-old transgender woman Dee Wiggum, who was found stabbed to death in a hotel room Saturday. The alleged killer is 20-year-old DeWanya Hickerson, who is in training at Mississippi's Keesler Air Force Base. Police say they're investigating the murder as a possible hate crime. Dee Wiggum had recently begun her medical career as a nurse at a medical center in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. At least 15 transgender people have been murdered this year, following a record of more than 20 killings in 2015. And Chris Leday, the man who posted the Facebook video showing the police killing of Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, says he still hasn't been allowed to return to work. 3 weeks ago, the day after posting the video, Leday was arrested, shackled, jailed, and ultimately charged for outstanding traffic fines. Now, officials on the Dobbins Air Force Base, where Leday has worked as a technician, are saying his arrest had led to issues with his security clearance that are preventing him from returning to work. This is Chris Leday speaking on Democracy Now! After his arrest. So, are you sorry you posted the video of the police killing of Alton Sterling?
Not at all, because the main thing I wanted to do was try to help the Sterling family get justice and use my platform to put these cops on display. I think it was an atrocity, and they handled it wrong. It was a clear-cut case of murder, in my opinion, even though I'm not an expert. But I saw his kid crying, his son crying on television, and that really broke my heart because, I have 3 children.
And to see our whole interview with Chris Leday, go to democracynow.org. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. Breaking with Convention, War, Peace, and the Presidency. I'm Amy Goodman.